What's going on, guys? And I'm back today with another video, and I'm going to be going over our weekly market analysis. And actually I recorded this video prior, and that's why I have my markups already, and the whole video was choppy and screwed up. So I'm just going to be going over the markups I already have previously drawn. So yeah, so starting off on the daily time frame, I marked up my areas of liquidity: buy side liquidity, sell side liquidity, sell side liquidity, and this on the daily time frame. So these are the major areas. I also made sure that I marked up this daily order block, this last down candle for this up move that took out these highs. I have this area marked up also because if you look in the past to the left, you can see price previously rejected this daily order block before, so we know that there's already a opportunity, there is a chance that price could likely reject it again. Because if you also draw your fib from the low on this daily candle to the high, and you look at the range that price is currently trading in, you see that it's coming right back down to the 62%, and also the 70.50% is right under. And this 34,500 area is going to be very key because, for one, it's a 500 level, so it's a whole number level, institutional level, whatever you want to call it. We also know that there is sell side liquidity right below these lows. So we already know that if price wants to, it could possibly travel a little bit lower to the 70.50% and the 34,500 level to potentially get a push. And also understanding that this daily order block is a major candle, so what you would want to do is you would want to refine it. And the way I do that is by grabbing my fib, the 50%, and I'll find the 50% mark of these daily order blocks, and you can see that is right here in confluence with the 79% at 34,368. So now that you see that, let's move down to the 4-hour time frame. And just like this, the one thing I want to keep in mind on the top side is we have this 4-hour breaker block right up here. If you don't know what a breaker block is a previous order block that broke through market structure. So you can see right here, price was respecting this 4-hour order block, had a push to the top side before eventually pushing through, breaking market structure. So this becomes our 4-hour breaker, and this is an area in price that price could likely have a retracement to potentially see a downside. It's not 100%, but these are high probability areas on our higher time frames that we're mapping out to see potential trades. So now that we understand that, we also have this area all the way down here marked up. Let's go down to the hour time frame. I'm gonna move over here, all the way over right here. This candle right here is important because this is a candle in confluence with the 34,500 level, also in confluence with our 70.50% on the higher time frame fib, and this area is going to be our 1-hour order block. If you look on the 4-hour, this is an area that's a little bit lower. So what we did is we went down to the hour time frame and we refined it to give us a better entry in very close proximity to these other confirmations we have due to the higher time frame. So this, where I have my magnet, is an area of high probability that I'm going to be looking for possible buy scenarios this week in US30. So now that we have that, we're going to move down. Now we're also going to look at right here, this fair value gap. I forgot to tell you guys on the higher time frame. From this candle, from this wick to this wick right here, we have a fair value gap in the market that is also in confluence with our breaker block. So once this fair value gap gets filled in, is going to tap into this 4-hour breaker block, which means we have a high probability area. So now that we have our high probability areas, we're going to move down to the 1-hour time frame. And the one thing that I did is I went down to the 1 hour and I marked up our previous day's Asian session high and our Asian session low. The reason I do that is because if you guys understand the way the market moves and the algorithm moves, the market always goes from a consolidation to an expansion to then either retracement to see higher prices, or it has a reversal after the expansion. That's just how the market moves. So understanding where our Asian session highs and lows are is very important, because Asian session tends to be the session of the least volume, and when there's not a lot of volume, that tends to lead to consolidation. So if we understand that Asian session has a high probability of having our daily consolidation, we can map out where price is likely to expand to, retrace to, or reverse from. So we know that we got our Asian low right here, which happens to be in a very close proximity to this 1 hour order block we have. One thing that I'm waiting for price to do, I'm waiting for price to make a support down here so I can pull my fib from these higher time frame such moves like up here to pull my fib, because as of right now price is making lows and it's more than likely going to keep falling a little bit lower when the market opens. So I don't want to draw my fib yet, so I'm going to wait. Patience is key. Draw my fib, and I'm going to map out areas that price is likely to retrace to. So if you see, say I use this low where price is right now, we already see confluence with the 34,800 level, which is right here. 34,800 level is in confluence with our 1 hour order block, also in confluence with our 38.2% on the fib continuation level. So there's this another area of high probability that we could watch for possible retracements to. So price could possibly have this retracement up to then come a little bit lower to trade into this other high probability area that we have on the higher time frames, to then possibly have this push to the top side to then target this other high probability area. All we're doing is mapping out high probability areas where price is likely to have reactions to. So this is all for US30. Overall this week, I want to see a short-term push to the downside to potentially be bullish this week and see new higher prices to fill in this fair liquidity void that we are creating this week. So that's what I have for US30, and let's move on to NAS100. So right here on NAS, starting off on the daily time frame, a key area that we got to watch out for is right here. This daily order block is very important because, as you can see, price had a small consolidation before having this expansion to the top side, leaving fair value gaps that are being filled as of right now. So looking from here, it looks like price is going to more than likely trade all the way back down to this daily order block, because this is the last major candle on the higher time frames that has high probability. So from there, what did I do? I pulled my fib from the low of this order block because this is where the move started. I then pulled to the top, and I looked at the areas of where my fib level is. And as you can see, as of right now, where price is currently rejecting the 62% level. So now that we know that, we also see that on the 4 hour time frame, from this candle, this high, to this low, there was a fair value gap in the market. And if you don't know what a fair value gap is, make sure you watch my other video on fair value gaps, liquidity voids, and fair valuation, because it'll give you a better understanding of these concepts that I use. So understanding that, we see that now we have a fair value gap in this area of confluence with our 79% fib long on the daily time frame. We also have this daily order block that we have. And the last thing that I picked out, now that we're on the 4 hour time frame, if you look right here, this last up candle for this down move was a previous order block. It was a previous bearish order block, and now is a bullish breaker block that we could potentially look to have a retracement off of. And if you see where that is, I'm going to delete this real quick, the fair value gap. If you look to see where this breaker block is in confluence with, it's in confluence with the 79% and our daily order block. So that's two confluences in this area by itself. So once price fills in this fair value gap, or even fills in half of this fair value gap, let's put the 50% of this fair value gap. We could fill in half, reject this area to potentially see higher prices. So it's a very similar setup to what I see with US30. So now we look to the downside. What if price does create the support like we're waiting for US30, so we could draw our fib? So when price does create that support, we will then be able to map out areas where price is likely to retrace to potentially continue this downtrend to lower prices, or even go higher. But we just have to map out what we see as of right now. So the one thing that I have drawn is I have this 1 hour burger block also drawn right here, which is in confluence with this 1 hour order block. So what did I do? I got the 50% of this 1 hour order block, which is in confluence with this 1 hour breaker block. So this is an area of high probability that is more than likely going to see a reaction in price. And I don't think the 38.2, yeah, this somewhat it all depends where we get the support draws, because if price stays right where it's at right now and then pushes higher, we could draw the fib from here. But if it comes even lower, it just all depends what happens. We just have to wait, and that's why I don't have the fib drawn as of right now. So right up here at 15,570 is an area that I will be looking for possible short scenarios to possibly trade into. This 15,378 area, which is a high probability area on the higher time frames. So that's what I'm looking for with NAS100. And let's move on to DXY. DXY is in a overall big range as of right now, and this is going to be a little bit more of a complicated breakdown, but I'm going to try to go in depth as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all of my fibs that I have drawn, because I have a few, and we're just going to look at price like this. So just like everything else, I have my areas of liquidity, buy side liquidity. I have sell side liquidity right here, sell side, buy side liquidity, buy side liquidity, and buy side liquidity. And this is on the higher time frames also. So one thing we're going to do, we're going to start from the bottom up. Right here where price is currently at, if you look to the left, this is a daily bullish order block where price is currently trading into. And what did I do? I pulled the 50% of my fib, got the 50% of the order block. And if you look closely, this is where price was rejecting and using as support. It had this push up to the top side. And when it had this push to the top side, what did it trade into? It traded into a daily bearish order block right here. I don't know why I did that. Traded right here. Had a retracement too. And as you can see, when price had this push up, it also left another daily order block, which is basically in confluence with this previous order block. So this is an area of high probability that I will be looking for a possible reaction from to the top side. Because if you keep in mind the market structure we're in, we're still maintaining bullish market structure, creating higher highs and higher lows. So if price can come down, create this higher low to potentially go higher, that is something we can see. And another thing I did is I pulled my fib from this top, from this low to this high right here. And as you can see, price is holding above the 38.20% continuation level, and that's why we're seeing this push. But if we do have a retracement lower, you can see that our fib levels is also in confluence with these daily order blocks that we have drawn. So that is something that could possibly happen. And looking even closer, this fair value gap that we had right here, let me get this off, has almost been fully filled. We have a small area left that has to still be filled, and that is right where these 62% is. So that is another reason why this area right here is high probability. So that is something we will be looking to see. And looking up here, we have a not liquidity void. We have a fair value gap on the 4-hour time frame right above this buy side liquidity right here. So from there, what does that tell us? What did I do? And since this was a daily order block, we had a fair value gap right above it and above these highs. I pulled my fib to see if it would also match our fib levels. And as you can see, it does. Right above it, the 79% is in confluence with this daily order block and this fair value gap that we have over here. So this is why I have this magnet here. And this is another high probability area that we could potentially look for setups at. And that's really all I have for DXY. Nothing crazy. I also have this daily order block drawn up here. And if you pull your fib from this high to the low even farther, you can see that is very similar setup to this. And this is why I have my other magnet here also. These are just very high probability setups that we could look to target in price. And if you come all the way down to the 4-hour time frame, is the 4-hour to 1 hour? I think it was on the daily. Was it the daily? I forget which time frame I drew this on. Right here. Yeah, it was the 4-hour. You look very closely at this small section in price that has this gap right here. Right here. This is a fair value gap in the market. Also in confluence with right above these highs, right above the buy side liquidity, and also in confluence with the 70.50%. Also in confluence with that daily order block level. So as you can see, I use a lot of confluences when I'm trading, but it's all the same confluences, and I just use it to map out where I think the market is more than likely going to go. So this is what I think is happening with DXY. Overall, I want to see a small push to the downside, but overall, since we're in bullish market structure, until we break structure to the downside, I'm going to remain bullish. So if we can come down to 92,280, I'm bullish from there. And if we start rejecting 92,779 again, then I'm going to expect price to come all the way down and target the liquidity voids below this area all the way down here to break market structure to the downside. But until then, I'm bullish. And now let's move on to gold. That's not gold. Right here is gold. Okay, so starting off in the daily time frame, once again, what did I do? First thing I did is I drew my fib from this high up here to this low down here. I'm going to take off all my fibs once again, just so you don't get confused. So from this high to this low, I drew my fibs, and that brought me to this area of price all the way up here. So what did I do is I looked for possible breaker blocks on the lower time frame, because this right here, this breaker block is in a confluence with these fib levels that we have drawn. So I went down to the 4-hour time frame, looked to the left, and I found this breaker block right here. Why is this a breaker block? Because if you look, this is previously a bullish order block that got traded to and respected before getting broken through and breaking market structure. So this is an area that price could likely come retrace to potentially see lower prices. And understanding that we have a lot of liquidity above these highs right here, because this is triple tops. So this is where a lot of buy stops are at, a lot of stop losses from people going short. So this is an area that price is more than likely going to be attracted to try to push up. And then the last thing that I have in this area for why price should likely trade to it, if you look at these candles from this liquidity void that price left in the market, if you look at this candle's low and this candle's high, it left a gap in the market that eventually traded into, at some point traded some of this in, but we still have the rest of this fair value gap to fill. So once we fill in this fair value gap, where are we going to be led? Right to the 70.50% of this fib that we have drawn from the top to this high. So this is just mapping out what price is likely to do. Target the liquidity above these highs, trade into a 4-hour breaker block to potentially see lower prices. That is something that could possibly happen. But now let's look into the more short term of what's happening as of right now. Looking to the left, right here, this candle right here, this last down candle before this up move is a daily order block. And as you can see, it's been respected multiple times and is also coming down to it once again, respecting it again. So from here, if I do what I always do, pull my fib from the low to the high, you see this is also in confluence with our fib levels also. So we're rejecting our fib level, we're rejecting this daily order block, and we're more than likely going to see a push of some sort to the top side. Even if it's not a lot, it'll be this on the daily time frame. So these are bigger moves that are going to happen. So now from there, we map out an area that price is likely to try to retrace to also. And what do? We found this liquidity void that price left in the market, leaving a fair value gap that price is more than likely going to try to retrace to. And then what do I do again? It's very repetitive what I do, guys. I tell you guys this every day. I look for the same stuff. I pull my fib from this high to this low right here where price is currently at. And as you can see, this fair value gap, once it gets fully filled, if it gets fully filled, it will be right at the edge of our fib level, also our 79%. So this is where we will have a lot of high probability to see a retracement because it is very overbought at that point. So this is what I'm looking for on the short side. So say price does keep going lower and targets the liquidity below these lows. Where would price likely go to? Right below it, what do we see? If you look to the left, this last down candle before this up move would be classified as a daily order block, which we also have this gap in the market right there next to the daily order block. These confirmations, guys, they always match up for a reason because this is where price is likely to move to. So we have this fair value gap that price is going to want to fill in. Then once it fills in, what do we see right here? Let's get the 50% of that fair value gap. So let's get the 50% just like that. What does it match up with? It's almost right there. Didn't even mean to move this one. Right here, that's the order block. This is 50% of that order block. But if you look at this daily order block and the 50% of this fair value gap, they're right next to each other. And that's why this area is high probability, because once price reaches this area, more than likely we're going to see some sort of reaction. Even if it's not a lot, we might see something before price possibly trades lower. But these are areas of high probability that we could possibly set up lower time frame trades off of. And this is daily for gold, so I'm not going to go really into it. This is just what I like to have drawn out. Get rid of these, those aren't supposed to be there. But this is what I'm expecting with gold. Overall, I'm bullish with gold because, as you can see, we took out the lows from over here. No, we actually didn't. Okay, that changes things. Now this is an area of high probability that we would want to see targeted also. So let's just keep that in mind for later. This is far away, so let's not worry about it right now. But overall, I think price could have a push this week to fill in this gap before potentially coming lower to 1765 before potentially going to see higher prices to take out the liquidity about these highs. That's what I think is going to happen, in my opinion. Price could likely keep trading even higher when the market opens, but we will just have to wait for the market open. We don't predict, we just react and we map out what is likely to happen. So that's really it. Hopefully you guys found this gold, NAS100, US30, and DXY markup helpful. Hopefully it gave you insight to how I view the market and what I'm looking for this upcoming week. And that's really it. This is what I'm looking for. Keep things nice and simple. Sorry I didn't really get to mark it up for you guys on the go, but the video fucked up, so I just left it. I wasn't going to go over all these once again. So hopefully I explained it well enough. If you guys want to see me start explaining them in this way without the markup, just let me know. Like, comment, subscribe to my channel, hit this button. If you found this video helpful, then just subscribe, join the Telegram chat, links in the description.